Behind the spotlights and cheers of fans lies another side of a star rarely seen. A story of struggle, dedication, and concern for a world that is slowly melting. This is the extraordinary story of Wang Yibo, not just an actor and singer, but a champion of the earth who is shaking the world. You are watching China Idol Spotlight, a place where the true stories of stars shine not only on stage, but also in people's hearts. For years, we have watched him dance, sing, and act on grand stages. But that day, it wasn't the spotlight that greeted him, but rather the sharp, knife-like Arctic winds. The entertainment world may already know him as a multi-talented idol, but behind all the glamour, there was another, rarely seen side, an explorer ready to defend the earth. It all started with an official message that arrived a few months earlier. An invitation from the United Nations through the International Environmental Organization Polar Hub. They were looking for public figures capable of speaking out on the issue of melting glaciers. Not just with words, but with concrete actions. And without a doubt, the name that appeared at the top of the list was Wang Yibo, an artist known for his discipline, composure, and clean image. But more than that, he possessed a keen environmental and scientific curiosity. Before leaving, Yibo spent weeks in Beijing studying climate change reports, reading glacier maps, and practicing adjusting his breathing for altitudes exceeding 5,000 meters. "I don't want to come just for photos," he told the Polar Hub team. "If I come, I have to truly understand what we're doing." That simple statement impressed the team of scientists. They didn't find a celebrity afraid of getting dirty or spoiled, but someone truly ready to be part of the research. On October 7, 2025, Wang Yibo left Beijing. On his chest, he bore the Polar Hub logo and the UN flag. The journey to the top of the world began, heading towards a glacier untouched by humans. The temperature plummeted to -20 degrees. At altitudes exceeding 4,500 meters, the air felt thin. Every breath felt heavy. But on Yibo's face, there was no hesitation, just a small smile and a determined look. For the Polar Hub team, this was a scientific research mission. But for Wang Yibo, it was more than that. A journey to test his limits and prove that caring knows no profession. Little did anyone know that this journey would test his physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. A few hours after leaving the small town in Tibet, the Polar Hub team began their journey through the unreachable region. Rock paths, steep cliffs, and frigid air were their companions. In the convoy were 9 scientists, technicians, documentary photographers, and one star who wasn't afraid to get dirty, Wang Yibo. The expedition leader was Dr. Han Zemin, a glaciologist from the University of Science and Technology of China. His face was stern but his gaze was calm. He had been researching glacier changes in Central Asia for over 20 years. Then there was Lu Shan, a 31-year-old woman, a climate specialist and environmental photographer. She was tasked with documenting all the visual data for the UN report. And finally, Tao Cheng, the most talkative of all the temperature and pressure measuring technicians, was a source of humor amidst the cold. They were all used to facing storms, but they never expected to work with a famous artist. Initially, there were doubts about whether he could survive. But those doubts disappeared from the first day. Without being asked, Yibo immediately pitched in. He carried the measuring equipment weighing dozens of kilograms, started the backup generator, and even helped set up the tent in temperatures of -15 degrees. There was no celebrity attitude, no distance. Just cooperation and smiles in the cold. That night, they sat in a circle around a small campfire. The sky was crystal clear, and thousands of stars twinkled overhead. From inside the tent, Dr. Han watched Yibo as he gazed up at the sky. "You know," he said quietly, "that snow you see might not last much longer." Yibo paused for a moment, then calmly replied, "Then we have to make sure everyone knows before it's too late." Those simple words echoed among them. That night, the team's spirit changed. They no longer saw Yibo as an honored guest, but as part of a family of someone who truly cared about their mission. The temperature dropped to -23 degrees. The breath froze, and dew hardened on the tent's surface. But amidst the silence, Yibo still sat with a small notebook in hand. He jotted down something, perhaps a feeling, perhaps a determination, before finally falling asleep under the cold, silent sky. The next morning, before sunrise, he was up first. While the other members were still wrapped in sleeping bags, Yibo helped heat water and prepare breakfast for everyone. Dr. Han, emerging from the tent, smiled. "You should rest, Yibo." And Yibo simply replied, "The Earth never rests, Doctor. So we shouldn't be lazy either." That sentence became a joke that morning, but also the unofficial motto of their expedition. That day, the real journey began. Before them lay tens of kilometers of ice. Beneath that white layer, valuable data about Earth's future lay. And amidst it all, Wang Yibo walked steadily, ready to face the test ahead. On the third day, the temperature reached -25 degrees. The wind blew harder, and oxygen was thin. At an altitude of over 5,000 meters, every breath felt like drinking in burning, cold air. The team had to trek 8 kilometers to the sampling point. The path was steep, slippery, and treacherous. This was where their endurance was truly tested. A few hours after the climb began, Wang Yibo began to feel dizzy and short of breath. His face paled, and his movements slowed. Dr. Han immediately realized something was wrong. "Dr. Han, Yibo, rest for a while. Don't push yourself." "Yibo, I'm fine, just a little longer." "Tao Cheng, you're so pale. We can collect data later." "Yibo, no, we've come this far, I don't want to stop now." His body began to react to the altitude with altitude sickness, a condition that can be fatal if left untreated. But Yibo refused to descend. He simply sat for a moment, took a sip of warm water from a thermos, and then stood up again. Every step felt like a small battle. But beneath the trembling, unwavering determination lurked. Yibo helped Lu Shan lift the camera tripod, which had nearly fallen in the wind. Snow covered half of their bodies. He still managed to help his struggling colleague. There was no surrender, no complaint. Just a gaze fixed straight ahead toward the glacier that seemed to be waiting at the end of the world. In the midst of that small snowstorm, the documentary camera captured something unplanned. The blurry, shaky, yet clear image captured Yibo smiling through the ice flakes clinging to his cheek. The moment has since gone viral on Weibo. His simple, sincere, and meaningful smile has become a symbol of human resilience in the face of nature. After 4 hours of relentless struggle, the team finally arrived at the sampling point. Dr. Han planted the sensor device on the ice surface, while Yibo helped adjust the documentary camera. And in that moment, as the sun touched the glacier's surface, the entire team fell silent. There were no words. Only emotion and awe. Yibo gazed at the endless white panorama before him and said softly, "We must protect this not for today, but for a future that hasn't even been born yet." Those words were immortalized in the official UN campaign video. And from here, Wang Yibo's name once again shook the internet, not because of drama, not because of the stage, but because of sincerity. Amidst the cold snow and thin air, Wang Yibo discovered something deeper than fame, the meaning of true courage. 3 weeks after the expedition concluded, the world seemed to be just now realizing what was really going on behind the scenes. A short, 2-minute documentary uploaded by the official Polar Hub account went viral. In less than 6 hours, it had surpassed 50 million views on Weibo. Dedication doesn't always come from scientists. Sometimes, it comes from someone willing to learn and fight side by side. Fans around the world shared footage of Yibo helping his colleague in the midst of a storm. Some even used it as inspiration for recycling and environmental donation campaigns. CCTV aired a special coverage of the expedition in its Heroes of the Earth segment. In an interview, the founder of Polar Hub said, "We never thought a star could work as hard as a scientist in the field." Wang Yibo proves that caring knows no profession. Wang Yibo doesn't seek the spotlight, he seeks meaning. Yibo isn't just a handsome face on screen, but someone with a true heart for the Earth. Even several foreign media outlets, such as The Guardian and National Geographic China, wrote articles about his contributions to the UN's Glacier Conservation Project. Meanwhile, Yibo himself remained silent. He didn't make any major statements or write lengthy captions on his personal account. Just one simple post on his Weibo, "Thank you to all who care. Let's protect what we love together." That line was quoted over 300,000 times in one day. Wang Yibo has shown that being a star isn't just about reflecting light, but about how to let that light guide others toward good. He may not have saved the world alone, but with his small steps on the snow, he has moved the hearts of millions to start caring. And perhaps that small step began with Wang Yibo. The camera panned slowly among the tall buildings of Beijing. 3 months after the Glacier expedition ended, Wang Yibo's life has taken an unexpected turn. His documentary is still being discussed, but this time not just by fans, but by international organizations, scientists, and activists from various countries. In January 2026, the United Nations Office for the Environment Program, UNEP, officially contacted Wang Yibo's agency. They invited him to be part of a global campaign called Voices for the Planet. This campaign wasn't just a ceremonial event. It was a real movement to educate young people about climate change and nature conservation. From Asia to Europe, they were looking for someone who could bridge the gap between science and the general public. And in their eyes, Wang Yibo was the perfect choice. That day, he stood at UN headquarters in Geneva, in a room filled with diplomats, scientists, and media representatives. A Chinese actor delivered a speech that moved the world. In his speech, Yibo didn't talk much about himself. Instead, he talked about Dr. Han, about Lu Shan, about the wind at high altitudes, and about smiling in the midst of a storm. Amidst the global spotlight, Yibo remained humble. In an interview after the event, he said with his trademark smile, "I just want people to know that the Earth is beautiful, but fragile." From that day on, Wang Yibo was officially appointed as a Goodwill Ambassador for Climate Awareness by UNEP. His name is listed alongside great global figures who have fought for the environment. But for Yibo, it's not about titles. He knows the journey isn't over. From remote mountains to the world stage, Wang Yibo proves that courage and compassion can transcend professional boundaries. 1 year after his Arctic expedition, Wang Yibo returned to the public stage. Wang Yibo was named the Youth Climate Ambassador of East Asia. The title was bestowed by the United Nations Environment Program in recognition of his contributions to glacier conservation and climate education campaigns. Yibo stepped to the podium, dressed in an elegant black suit, his face calm but serious. Thousands of eyes stared at him. But Yibo wasn't reading a long text from a teleprompter. He carried only a small notepad, written in his own hand. But Yibo didn't stop there. Behind it all, there was a man once known only as a dance star and action actor. Now, he stands at the forefront, not to entertain, but to inspire. In an exclusive interview with Time Asia, Yibo said calmly, "I don't want people to remember me only for my roles on screen, but also for what I do for the Earth we share." Since then, every project he has undertaken has had an environmental message. Now, Wang Yibo has transformed from a youth idol into a symbol of responsibility for a new generation. The camera slowly drifts along the silhouette of Wang Yibo, walking through the snowy expanse, wearing a dark blue jacket emblazoned with the words Glacier Guardian. Soft piano music blends with the tinkling of snow bells. 3 years have passed since his first expedition, the world has changed, and so has he. But one thing that has never waned is his determination to protect the Earth he loves. Now, Wang Yibo is no longer just a campaign face. He has founded a foundation called the Blue Horizon Project, which focuses on environmental education for children in remote areas of Asia. Children smile, planting tree seedlings while wearing hats emblazoned with Blue Horizon. Yibo kneels to help them plant. He believes that true change begins with the younger generation, with little hands planting hope. One of his most influential programs is the Glacier School, where children learn about climate and conservation through simple games and experiments. A child points to a miniature glacier made of ice and innocently says, "If all the ice melts, we'll lose our fish homes." Yibo also actively collaborates with scientists and research institutions, funding ice mapping projects in the Himalayas, and providing aid to villages losing their water sources due to melting glaciers. Now, the snow around him has reduced by half. In his personal documentary vlog, he said, gazing at the thinning horizon of snow, "Maybe one day I won't be here anymore. But I want others to come here and still see the same ice, not just in photos." Those words have become legendary among fans. Thousands of people have retweeted the phrase on social media, transforming it into a reminder, "Don't let that last icicle melt silently." Not just fans, many young stars in Asia are following in his footsteps. They've formed environmental communities, held green concerts, and planted thousands of trees in his name. That's where we realize that an artist can change not only trends, but also the direction of the world. And even though time passes, those footprints never fade, footprints in the snow. Hearts left in glaciers, and traces of kindness that will never melt. Yibo holds a camera, plants trees, speaks at world forums, and gazes at the Arctic sky. Because in a world that's constantly changing, we're all striving to leave something that can't simply disappear, like Wang Yibo's footprints, in the heart of the Earth that's still breathing. If you're inspired by this story, hit like, share, and write in the comments section what you will do for the Earth today. Because every small step counts. Thank you for watching China Idol Spotlight. See you in the next extraordinary story.